Welcome to Almost Senator en route. This time you will see the first part of the last leg of my trip, which is Portland, Oregon and Washington State. On the day I departed for Portland, Oregon, my buddy Farshid and I had breakfast in Burbank in an omelette restaurant. So that restaurant, they claimed themselves that they offer the best omelets in Burbank. And well, it was a very good one. So after that, he gave me a ride to Hollywood Burbank Airport. And that's a tiny little airport north of LA in the valley, in Burbank. And well, I like the architecture from that airport, kind of neat. But it's a small airport, so the longest runway has just 2 kilometers, so it's not suitable for big airplanes. And on that day, I departed on a 737 from Southwest to Portland, Oregon. For this leg of the trip, I booked my rental car via Billiger Mietwagen, so via broker, and got the car from Hertz. And the booking confirmation said that I will get a Polestar 2, so that would be an EV, but I didn't really trust that confirmation, but because these confirmations typically say they say a certain make and type, but typically you get whatever they have on stock. And in that case, I really got a Polestar 2 EV. I was a bit unsure if I can deal with the charging infrastructure. I had no idea how the infrastructure looks up there. So I asked if they would have a regular petrol gas car as well, but they would have charged me more money for a regular car. So that was the reason I went then for what I have booked. And it was a really great car. I arrived yesterday in Portland, Oregon, and booked myself into another boring motel to kind of arrive. So I'm heading off now to the Museum of Flight in Seattle, and I have found a cool Airbnb somewhere in the forest for the next 3 nights, and I'm looking forward to that. So this is me, first time charging an EV at a public station, and I started with the station here, tried to plug in the car, but it was a different standard, and by the way, this one is offline as well. Then I went to that one here, so at least the plug was the right one. But the app I found the station does not work right now because I don't have any online connection right now. But I could at least pay with the credit card here right on that station. That's good. So right now it's charging up with 70 kilowatts. That looks good. So currently it's charging with 64 kilowatts at 155 amps and 414 volts, so it's pretty impressive. I just walked to a coffee shop while the car is charging to charge up myself. So I made it back to 92%, and I would have made it to the Museum of Flight without charging, but I wanted to gain some experience before I go lower than 50% of charge. I did some quick math to calculate if this would be cheaper now than driving a regular gas car. And I drove 100 miles already, and I charged now for $10. The price was 35 cents per kilowatt hour, so $10 for 100 miles. And if I would drive a gas car, let's imagine that kind of car would have a fuel economy of about 30 miles per gallon. So it would have consumed 3 gallons of fuel, and the gallon is about 4 $5 per gallon here. So that would mean that's a bit more expensive than the electric charge from now, but not very significant. So I would say some 20% cheaper now compared to the gas car, the petrol car. I need to add here that the prices vary a lot. So the cheapest charging station I could find was 22 cents per kilowatt hour, and the most expensive ones I've seen were 50 cents per kilowatt hour, and the one I charged just now was 35 cents per kilowatt hour. And it mainly depends, what I figured out, on the maximum current they deliver. So that one where I charge right now, I think was rated 75 kilowatts, and the ones I've seen with 50 cents per kilowatt hour, they were a lot more powerful. I made it to the Museum of Flight, and that was a 160-mile ride, and overall some 40 kilowatt hours of electricity. So that's an equivalent of 4 liters of gasoline or petrol or diesel. So there is always this thermodynamic efficiency which converts 2/3 of the energy into waste heat, typically in normal cars. And this 160 miles, so that would be an equivalent. Let's imagine that car would have a fuel economy of 30 miles per gallon. That would be some 5 gallons or 20 liters of fuel. One of the reasons why I went to Portland, Oregon and to Washington State as well was that I wanted to see the Museum of Flight in Seattle, and that was my first stop in Washington State after I have arrived, and spent one night in Portland in a regular Super 8 motel. And right next to the Museum of Flight there is a Boeing factory, and that Boeing factory, they have the delivery and the special services for military planes. And I could see there a 767 tanker plane. Thank you for watching Almost Senator En Route. If you like the show, please hit the like button and stay tuned.